Yesterday, a complete stranger shifted the way that I look and label myself as I was walking down the stairs at George Washington's childhood home, Ferry Farms in Northern Virginia. The reason that I'm opening this video that way is because there are a lot of little facts tucked into that one sentence, and those little facts are in my brain still very specifically because I took the time to journal yesterday to document what that gentleman said to me, how it made me feel. And also, as I'm looking back over yesterday, I can see the visuals of the precise moment because I put them there and I'm holding them there through writing and through speaking. It's amazing how that works. Stay to the end of the video if you want to see what that gentleman said to me. It's actually a really good thing you might want to say to people in the future. When they see less of themselves, you can build them up. My name is Julie Jordan Scott. If we haven't met, I'm so happy to meet you. I am the owner of this channel, Aging Joyfully. And in addition, I've been teaching writing workshops for the last 25 years. And I'm delighted to bring you this journaling workshop. It comes in 5 parts, actually 10, but 5 parts live and 5-part recap. You have come to a recap. You don't have to come to all of the workshop episodes. This workshop operates so that you can go to all 5, or you may go to just one at any time at all, if you want a little bit of a boost in your writing or your journaling or your creativity or your thoughts. So I'm so glad you're here. So before we go any further, I would love to hear about your thoughts and experiences with memory. How are you feeling about your memory right now? What are you retaining? I know for me, sometimes I remember things from when I was a child. You'll hear about that today. And sometimes it'll be like my short-term memory just flies out the window. In today's journaling, we'll be working with memories and trusting yourself to hold on to memories and to use memory and writing together to create a more fruitful, enjoyable tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get started. As we get older, one of the things we worry about is our memory. Is our memory working? Do we still hold on to memories, both short-term and long-term? And how does actively working on our memory skills help us to age more joyfully and to stay vibrant and energized no matter what age we are? And what I've just shown you is the underneath intention of doing these journaling workshops, which I'm having so much fun after 2 days that I'm just going to continue monthly doing a 5-day workshop, which will take slightly different forms. I will no longer do vertical. I've learned that this is not a vertical video type of thing. So I'm excited that I experimented, and I'm excited that starting in July, I won't do vertical. Whew, it's all good. Yesterday I had a great time visiting Ferry Farms, which is George Washington's childhood home. I went there with teacher Kelly Tag, who I have learned so much from every time that I'm not going to go into it in depth here, but I will say, because there's going to be a video coming out, so you have that to look forward to. But what I learned that I could use immediately in yesterday's workshop was that George Washington's father, Augustine, I didn't know until yesterday his father is named Augustine. I didn't know that his father died when he was 11 and that his mom, widow at 35, went on to never marry again because she wanted to protect her son's future. Long history of women's stuff there. We're not going to get into that either. Augustine documented to the T, to the dotting of the I, as to what was in their home on Ferry Farms. So when the archaeologists found the foundation, discovered the foundation, and were able to dig stuff out, preventing putting a super Walmart on the same location, we now, more than 300 years later, can go into a replica of that house that they recreated. The craftsmen remade furniture for, remade things for. Phenomenal. But what captured me was his documentation. We would not know all of this if Augustine did not document so carefully. What a treasure. So when you think, why do I even bother journaling? It matters. Your documentation matters both for your memory, for your fitness, and also for the simple joy and pleasure of those who come along later. And you might think, but I'm nobody famous. One of the tour guide's biggest lessons for me was when George Washington was growing up, no one suspected he would be famous either. And I think, yeah, he's pretty famous, at least for Americans. So our first journaling exercise today, our first prompt, which I would like for you to set a timer for 2 or 3 minutes to write this, is to take the simple phrase, today I, today I, and add a sensory bit to the end of that. Today I saw, today I heard, today I tasted, today I smelled, today I felt. And then make a list, just stream of consciousness style, jot a list for 2 to 3 minutes. Before you go, though, I wanted to give credit to Billy Collins for this. Billy Collins is a former poet laureate of the U.S., and he does this exercise, or he did at the time, an exercise where he wrote, in the morning of the next day, yesterday I, and listed off 20 things that he did the day before. I started doing this exercise. If I remember, I will link to a video that's pretty old. I have gray hair in that video, where I talk about this exercise. It was a great way for me to shift out of strict morning pages with Julia Cameron into something that served me and my writing better. So let's hop over right now. Today I saw, today I heard, today I felt, today I tasted. And just write for 2 or 3 minutes and see what pops up. Just move your pencil across the page, your fingers on the keyboard, and see what comes up for you. Today I. Here's my list. Today I saw a flower called a rue, although I don't remember it. I remember the name, rue, R-U-E. Today I laughed with Kelly. Today I cut into a big red tomato. Today I felt my soft pink sweater against my skin. Today I looked through rain-smudged glasses for much of the day. Today I felt content. Today I took a picture of a tomato. I learned a new definition for the word slug. Today I lost my train of thought. Next prompt that we're going to do is based on memory. So we're going to go to the grandmama of all writing prompts, which is, I remember. I remember. Now, the same principle holds true, that if you can take a sense, any sense, like smell is really good for this. If you can take something, like I have a cup of coffee here, so if I smelled the coffee and wrote the phrase, I remember, chances are things that would come up would be lots and lots of memory of coffee. And when you're writing stream of consciousness style, you may hop into other similar memories. You might have memories of breakfast. You might have memories of when you started drinking coffee. You may have memories of, one that just flashed into my head was one time I drove up to a McDonald's drive-through window. I know it's embarrassing to admit that. I drove up to McDonald's drive-through window, and the smell that came out was a coffee smell, but it took me back to Mountainside Hospital when I got my tonsils out when I was 7. That's the thing with smell, is that smell is like our most, what's the word? It is our most animalistic sense. It is the farthest from our language centers, but it is visceral. So when you have a memory from a scent, it can just dive like deep into your core, your gut, your heart, and take you places that you never expected to go. It's time travel in one sense. If you want to time travel in your memory, which I suggest you time travel in your memory, and sniff, smell, and do it intentionally. It's extra fun. In fact, in some of my in-person workshops, I will set up stations with like around a big room. You have to separate them because smells, hello. But if you have different smelling stations and then have people sit down to write to those different smells, I tell you, it is always fruitful. So when you sit down to journal, today we're going to do I Remember here in the group. And tomorrow you can go grab something that has a scent. Could be a scent of laundry. Laundry is a big one too. Anything, it's infinite. So if you feel stuck with your journaling, pull up something that has a scent and write the words, I remember. And as always, if you get stuck, I'm going to suggest you go 4 or 5 minutes on this one. If you get stuck, just write, I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember, and see what happens. I'm going to remember this time to do a couple or 3 deep breaths before we get started with our writing. I will ask you to turn off the video or pause it and do 4 or 5 minutes of writing, or save this for later. And I'm going to write myself a note to ask you a question. Okay, here we go. Let's take a nice deep breath. Breathe in. And exhale. Exhale deeply. And then inhale. And exhale. And your pace may be different than mine, and that's all well and good. You don't need to do anything in any particular way. Breathe in. And exhale. And write from the prompt, I remember. I remember. I remember. How did that go for you? Here's my I remember. You'll see it's nothing brilliant, just me writing. I remember. I remember slicing into the tomato. It was like my heart opened. My heart opened to the 6-year-old me, anticipating something new, a picnic, a lunchbox, all the big girl things I hadn't had before. I remember being early and alone and waiting. I remember the tomato like an apple. I remember the beauty of the tomato skin and didn't even care about the tomato dripping down my face. Did I laugh? I don't remember. I remember laughing today. Tomato in my hands, taking its photo and smiling. The tomato in me. As far as memory goes, writing the scene down, taking a photo of a said tomato, sharing the story with you out loud and on video, all of these things help to cement the memory. These moments in time that I would have no recollection of. And here's a bonus piece that I did not talk about on the workshop, in the workshop itself. And that is, I research things a lot, sometimes more in depth than others. But I've been researching memory and dementia and aging. And I heard something fascinating last night that I need to do more research on. And that is that one of the earliest signs of dementia is when we electively choose to shrink our world. And what I mean by that is when we stop doing new things, when we stop being willing to try new things, when we don't explore the world around us, and we believe that our way is the only way and are unwilling to try different things differently. So I would love for you to think about that. How does that land with you? It feels so severe to attach that to dementia. I don't know if I agree with it or not. And that makes me say I want to do more research about this, because a part of it makes sense. Because if you box yourself in, there's a few things that happen. If you box yourself in, chances are all you engage with are those things that you agree with, or those people who look like you, sound like you, talk like you, believe the same thing as you. Everything gets more condensed. And one of the signs of a well-lived older life is to maintain your curiosity and continue to learn. In the past, I thought, ill-advised, I admit, in my 30s and early 40s, I tended to resist things that I felt were taking up too much brain space. I used to actually say that. I can't learn another thing, my brain is too full. I found that my brain expands when I learn new things. Part of why I love to visit museums and I love to go new places. So apparently my dementia is delayed by that. You can do that though, whether you go new places or not. You can be curious right in your home. YouTube's a great place to be curious because there's so many different people, so many different ways of thinking and believing. And so you can be curious at your kitchen table. You can try a new recipe. You can use Duolingo to learn a new language. You can tour the world via YouTube. I met Kay and Roe, for example, because I was interested in the Appalachian Trail in my area, and that's how I found them. And we built a friendship. It's amazing. If I hadn't been curious about the Appalachian Trail, if I had gotten stuck in, well, I'll certainly never hike a section of the Appalachian Trail. No way. Instead, I kept my heart open to it, and the results go so far beyond what I had expected. So your task today is to continue with this thought of what did you do today? I did that exercise the following day. So yesterday and I would list off things. It's like you can't remember sometimes. What did I have for breakfast yesterday? What did I eat? Yesterday I had yogurt with a flaxseed meal in it for breakfast. And I don't always have that. I'm trying to get out of eating processed cereal, so I'm trying different things. But it's a good exercise to list 20 things you did yesterday. I think it was Javada that said in the comments, 20 things. But it doesn't have to be like big mountaintop things. Julie is the anti-mountaintop, the hooray for the regular. So yesterday I tied my shoes carefully. Yesterday I watched yet another episode of Sweet Magnolias and saw that the acting is improving. Yesterday I put on a new pair of fluffy socks and boy, they felt good on my feet. I remember the first time I started drinking coffee. I was a sophomore in college and I didn't want to drink hot chocolate. I didn't want the extra sugar. That could go, literally, because I'm so practiced at memory work and as a writer, when I say things like that, for me, a whole scene unfolds in my brain. And I literally re-enter the body of 19-year-old me standing in the cafeteria at my college. It was called the Quads. That's the cafeteria's name. I almost said I don't remember the name, but as I said I don't remember the name, my brain brought forward the name to me. This is the magic. This is the magic, and you are the magic. This is what the gentleman said to me yesterday that I promised in the beginning of the video, something that changed my perspectives of myself. I was at the top of the stairs at the sleeping quarters, the second floor of the home where George Washington lived as a little boy. And there were people, there's a man behind me. And I said, you can go ahead of me. I'm really slow walking down the stairs. And he walked in front of me and I started walking slowly down the stairs. He looked back up at me and he said, you aren't walking slowly, you're walking deliberately. You're not walking slowly, you're walking deliberately. The word deliberate is such a great word. When I think of deliberate, I think of Henry David Thoreau. I should have told him that. But this gentleman also is from Allentown, which is right by Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I will probably remember that man from Allentown, Pennsylvania for a long time because he gave me that gift of, you're not walking slowly, you're walking deliberately. Being deliberate, being intentional, being purposeful goes right along with documenting and journaling and working with your memory. I truly have a heart's desire for you to age more joyfully, more happily, and with as much of your memory intact as you can possibly have. To share your stories, to delight in your friendships, your family, your partner, your friends. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey today. You'll have another video to look forward to about fairy farms featuring my friend, Teacher Kelly Tag. In fact, we're going to have a morning walk short, which will be coming shortly. You'll be able to see that almost right away. And then tonight, in real time, we'll be having the third day of the workshop. And then tomorrow we'll have the recap third day of the workshop. Slightly different iterations, and it's a joy to come alongside you as we journey together in journaling and aging joyfully and keeping our memories alive. You delight me with your presence. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward, as always, to seeing you on the next video. The world is a better place because you are in it.